Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I'm a real-world airline pilot, but in today's video I'm talking about a new addition to Microsoft Flight Simulator that is now available, and that is ChasePlane from Parallel 42. It has relatively recently been released in its full release, where anyone can now buy it and use it in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 for now. It is a complete overhaul of the camera system in Microsoft Flight Simulator. The cameras are one of the most important things in any flight simulator, of course, to make sure that you're getting that experience that you want. And ChasePlane is a way of having a whole host of customizations, as well as a whole load of built-in features, such as the cinematic mode you're seeing here today. This is not an advert, this is a product that I bought with my own money, and I am showing it to you after my thoughts of using it, and I think it's going to be interesting for a lot of people. If you're not sure and you're thinking, I don't really need to change the cameras in Flight Simulator, I get by with what I've got, then I do encourage you to watch the video, because I'm pretty confident that there is something in this add-on for pretty much anyone who uses Flight Simulator. There are some limitations, and we will talk about those, and I'm going to show you what great things it actually does, and also how simple it is to use. I'm going to show you the software that you use to set it up. So yeah, it is all going to be covered in today's video. I am pretty excited to show this to you, and it's amazing to see it arrive in Flight Simulator. I know it's been a while. Flight Simulator 2020 has been around for 5 years, and we've been living with its camera system since its launch. And I have made do, and it's one of the most common questions I've had on the channel over and over and over again. And I don't mind getting the question, but over again and over again, I am asked, how do you get your camera views? I have replay views where I show the airplane flying by on takeoff and landing often in my videos. I also show the aircraft from an exterior sort of zoomed in drone style view, as if it's being filmed by another aircraft. And I've done it a lot over the years, and I think it looks really nice, but it's something I've had to do myself by using the built-in drone camera of Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I do like, but this completely replaces that. ChasePlane actually overhauls the entire camera system, so it replaces all the default camera systems which will no longer work, and that is something to be aware of. If there's something in particular, a really tiny feature that you must have working, then ChasePlane may remove that from you, but you can uninstall it to go back to the default camera system if you need to. So first of all, let's talk about the price. It's £28 including tax, so that's I actually think quite reasonable. It might sound quite high considering you're not getting an aircraft, but you'll see a huge amount of work has been put into it. I've been impressed with how much work has gone into the software and the ease of use and tutorials, and we'll see those in just a moment. It also adds physics to the cameras, so things like having the head shake or rumble from the spoilers or the airflow or G-force as the aircraft turns and banks, things like that. You can now have flyby and tower views, and then there's a much easier way to customize your views, as well as sharing community views, so if other people have found them, to make them work. It used to be a real pain to get customized views and wing views and so on into Flight Simulator, so I really like some of these features. And again, I'm going to show you in today's video how we can go about that, which is really great. It's only for Flight Simulator 2020 at the moment, but it will be coming to 2024. They're working on a native version. That will be free initially, they say, to Flight Simulator 2020 users. How long that lasts or what the deal is, I don't know, but that's what they've said. A couple of the limitations, just to start out, is that there are some issues in virtual reality. You can't use it in missions and activities in Flight Simulator because all modifications are banned for those, obviously because there's points to be scored. And it also does not work with Tobii eye tracker at the moment, but there we go. It's also quite tricky to use if you're only using one Xbox controller as your entire controller for your flight sim, because what happens is you're controlling the airplane and the camera at the same time, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. That's enough then, let's show you the software. So what's going on with the airplane in today's video is going to be pretty relevant. I'm just leaving it to climb up to a cruise. It's heading over Europe at 36,000 feet. First of all, this is the software. It integrates into the Flight Simulator 2020 toolbar. Here it is. Yeah, here we go. This is it. You can pop it out, so if you press this button it will pop out into a separate window. So if you have a second monitor or something like that, like I do for recording my videos, I will move it onto that screen, and then you can have full access to this without it taking up your Flight Simulator space, so that's great. But first of all, here is the basic format that you'll see when you use it. This is allowing you to click through and see all the different camera options that are preloaded. So these are the ones that came with the PMDG 777. So crucially, you can have your default view assigned to a shortcut button. So whatever view I go to, I can click my shortcut button and jump back to it. So I've got that set to pilot, which is set to button 1 on my joystick, so I'll always return to it. So that's a classic sort of flight sim feature, but it is all built in. Then you can scroll through, or you can assign a key, as I have, to jump through them, and you can see actually how it transitions between them, it does a sort of smooth flow. You can turn that on or off, or have it just jump if you like, and you can go through them, or you can scroll down and then we can choose, for example, our wing view. So far, so normal. But you'll notice a few tiny things go on as we go around. For example, in this wing view, if I was to actually take control of the airplane and force it to move, you'll notice that the wing actually moves slightly differently. The camera has a bit of momentum, and that's because I've got it set up as a passenger, and we'll talk about that later. But this is a human sort of camera, as if it's a passenger sitting in the back. So you'll see that there's slight movement and inertia and G-force in there. If I just jump back to my pilot view and put the autopilot on, actually let's leave the autopilot off in this view as well, you'll see that there is a little bit in this view as well. So these are settings that we can adjust, and we will adjust shortly. So autopilot back on, and let's put it over to a Mach number so we don't actually stall. Get the airplane to accelerate a bit. But there we go, and we'll put it back to standard. So if we go back to our wing view, you can scroll through these as well. Now, a great thing that we all wanted was, of course, flyby, and here it is. It returns, it looks great, and there you go. So flyby, this is all pretty much out the box. I haven't had to make any of these views. These came with the airplane or with ChasePlane, and there it goes. If you click on flyby again, it does reset. So if you don't like the one it's given you, like you think it's too low and you wanted a higher angle, you can click on it again and it will usually jump between them. So I really like that, great feature. There is also tower view, but we'll talk about these. I'm going to put the airplane on the ground and show you some of the ground features as well. You can actually have it set to different airports to look up at your airplane, which is a feature that was in the old FSX days. This is basically bringing back loads of features that we had in Flight Simulator. I mean, even Flight Simulator 1998 had a lot of these features, as is, of course, 2000, 2002, 2004, and FSX. But yeah, flyby view, very nice. There is a cinematics view, which is what I started the video with. You click that. There's not much you can do to this. It's not very customizable, but you click it and the airplane goes into cinematics. And you can cycle through it. And they are lovely views. But like I say, if you don't like one, you click on the next one and it will take you through. And if you leave it alone, it will generally just cycle through these. Good. So that is the generic format. You'll notice there's some colors assigned to these views. So what that is the type of view it is. So you see these overwing exits have been assigned purple. That's because they're passenger views, which I mentioned. That means that these actually respond in a way that I have set up for my passenger views. This is pretty much a default setting. So this comes grouped like this, which is very clever actually, how it knows that already. And you can edit this entire group. So now anything with that purple color will behave in such a way. So because these are passenger views, I want them to be human. You could assign it mounted, like a GoPro, something like that. I want head tracking is not currently working. It's Track IR works, but not Tobii Eye Tracker for now. And I want it to have these sort of settings. So they've done this by default, but you can adjust it to your liking. So for example, I've actually increased the breathing. If you have the breathing really high, you will maybe notice it's quite a subtle effect, but the camera actually is gently, you can just about see it, moving up and down as the person breathes. I actually quite like that effect. I think it gives a little bit of authenticity to the view looking out the window. And then you can change whether you want it to follow the horizon. So if I increase that, then it just takes a second to kick in. Then the person would like to try and follow the horizon. So again, if I take the autopilot out, you'll see that. There you go. They're generally leveling their head to the horizon. This could be useful, I think, for aerobatics. It could be quite cool if you want like a stabilized sort of view, something like that. Yeah, I like it. But I'm not going to use that for my person. I'm going to keep it more of a sort of half person, half mounted camera view. And then you can assign them a name. And this goes through lots of features, such as your touchdown. How does it feel on touchdown? What's the effect? And so on. And you can adjust those accordingly. And like I say, this is from my passenger group, which is now saved. And they are all there. But if I go to my pilot, it's in blue. Let's put the autopilot back on. So this view is assigned as my pilot group. And in here, if we edit this, things are slightly different. We are smooth, not floaty for the firmness. So you can enable, disable transitions between the groups, or have it simply just jump between them. And then we have the firmness of the camera, and you can even choose how much you want the speed brakes to cause vibration. So right now, with 1x, if I deploy the speed brakes, there you go, you get that rumble. See that? And if I increase it all the way up, it's really severe. Oh, I quite like that. That's quite a good one, because it's a good reminder the speed brakes are out. And they are quite rough on the Boeings in particular. They're quite effective. So I put the speed brakes away and it goes smooth. So that is set because it's a cockpit. So you can choose things like breathing and follow the horizon again. So there's a little bit of follow horizon. I don't like it too much. I'm actually not a fan of having too much camera movement, especially in the cockpit view. I want this view to be pretty stable because when I'm flying an aeroplane around, in general, I don't experience the sensation of seeing the cockpit move differently to my head. I just feel like I'm strapped into the aeroplane. So I like it like this, and I think they've done a good job. Maybe that's a little bit extreme, just so we get out there, because I find it harder to control a flight simulator like this, but it definitely adds a level of immersion, and I can see why people like it, and it's particularly good for videos. You can ignore that tail strike warning. Yeah, so there you go, some features of that. So like I say, these different colors allow you to group those sorts of settings, so if you want to adjust them between the different things. And the final one I'm going to show you is the hard mounted sort of GoPro camera, which is here, hard mounted. This is showing the camera. I've got it set to the tail here, but I can move it around to all the different views that the PMDG came with, and you can see it's sort of pretty locked on. And if we move the airplane here, it's sort of completely strapped onto the airplane, which is what you'd want, right? That's like a GoPro would look. There are some cool features you can do in here, of course. You can go in and we can have things like angle of attack vibration, speed brake vibration. So if we turn that right up again, I haven't tried this yet, let's have a look at this. Speed brakes are out. Pretty soft effect. And you can also have one that I don't like so much is airflow vibrations. Horrible to look at. I've basically got those off. I want the tiniest bit of that. Yeah, that's quite something. Let's turn those back down as well. Put those back. You can just reset, by the way, send it back to the original. But what that's done is reset the awful airflow. By default, that's what it comes with. Horrible. Because most modern GoPros and things are stabilized to some extent that removes that horrible vibration. So we just have a tiny bit. So far so good. We've seen that we've got all these different camera views. We've got different groupings for settings we want for individual views. And we have our fantastic cinematics. Look at that. Oh, awesome. It took me so long to get these views when I've been making these videos. And look at that. And we've got things like the flyby. So let's talk about positioning the views. So we have our normal sort of chase or spot view. So this is the traditional exterior view of a flight simulator. And very nice, right? Do you notice anything different about this over what we had before? It's something that has driven me mad, and if you've watched my videos, you'll know what I'm talking about probably. I have a real issue with the spot view in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. I think it's terrible, and what it is by default, the airplane sits at the bottom of the screen. So when you rotate the camera around the airplane in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 without ChasePlane, what happens is you just lose all visibility of the airplane. Usually you're zoomed in and you can see half of it, whereas here you'll notice that as I bring the camera around, the focus point of the airplane shifts, and that way the airplane pretty much entirely stays on screen and it's in the middle of the screen. Look at that. We can actually see what we're trying to look at. We can see the airplane. This is a flight simulator. I want to see the airplanes, and now we can. That's great. But you can change this. If you're not happy with this positioning, you can change all of this. But I actually think this is great. Look at that. Just gorgeous camera angles straight away, straight out the box. I've put no effort into this. It just looks 10 times better. It doesn't always focus exactly where I want, but this is a long aeroplane, so it does shift around a little bit. But I think overall the effect is very nice. Absolutely brilliant. So much better than what we had before, where this would be half off the bottom. I basically couldn't use the spot view in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It drove me mad. So that's very nice. I'll stop banging on about that now. What we've also got is a chase view. This replaces the drone camera for me. So I used to use the drone camera a lot for my opening shots. You'll recognize this style of shot, which is sort of, you can now replicate it in the cinematics mode. But this sort of thing where I would move around like this using a drone. So now I have that done in chase view, and I can still get it because, like I say, the cinematic view doesn't always give me the shot I actually want. It can also be a little bit zoomed out. It gives you beautiful sort of vistas and views, but if I'm making a video on a specific airplane, I want to get up close with the airplane, then I might choose to go for this one. So this is what I typically use as well. This is the drone camera. This is probably a niche use case more for someone like me or video creators, but it's here. You can get to it. The default drone no longer works, but you're going to use this view instead. I say that the default drone does work, but it does not follow the aircraft, so it just disappears off into the distance, and there's no way to change that. I'll show you. This is the drone view. So I've still got a drone, and I can move it around freely on its own, but it's hard and difficult, and what you can't do is make it follow. I'm just going to demonstrate to you what I mean. You cannot turn this on. This is because ChasePlane is overriding the default camera systems. It's its own thing, so this stuff will not work now. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to go to my chase view, and I can get it anyway. So let's talk about some other features of customizing our view. So we've seen the views it comes with, and these are all the views that came with the airplane. So now let's look at how we can actually customize them if we don't like them. Classic example, this view. I don't really understand what the point of this view is. I don't use it. I don't film anything with it. You can see it's got a bit of vibration and so on. So let's customize it. Let's move it to somewhere more useful, or more where we want it. So wingtip, I could name it wingtip left, for example, but I'm actually leave it alone. Let's go down and adjust it. There we go, adjust. And you get this massive user interface to control it. This is really, really neat. You actually move the joysticks around. Look how smoothly animated they are. Really great. The effort that's gone into the user interface in this app is incredible. So I could move this and I can position it sort of as if it's actually been bolted onto the wing, or certainly the in-flight position of the wing, maybe. So, you know, just a different style of view. So that's there, and then I can move it down. And you can also type in the numbers, by the way. So it's at minus 31 meters from the X point on the airplane. Like, so if I was to type in minus 35 and move it further out, or 30, there you go, back where it was. You can roll it as well if you wanted to, as if it's really strapped onto the wing, and I can adjust the movement of it, the zoom of it. So this is really great. So I could, let's just try and act like it's bolted on. Someone's managed to strap a GoPro to the wingtip of this 777, and there you go. And then that's set now for this flight. And then what you can do is save that position. You see it's gone green, so hit save and it will save. Everything else saves automatically, but this saves when the position you have to adjust. And you'll notice there's a little circle over here. So that was showing me that it's saving it to the cloud, which is great because that means that it should save across devices. I have not yet tried that. So there you go, that's the default one out here. I don't know, this view doesn't really mean much to me, and now I've got a sort of GoPro strapped onto the wing here. It's still shaking too much for my liking, so I'm going to reduce the amount of airflow in my hard mounted group. I could have two groups. I could create a new group with one that does have the airflow vibrations and one that does not. There are lots of ways around. I think I'm just going to turn it off. I don't like it at all, actually, because like I say, most modern cameras don't do that. But yeah, very nice indeed. The same goes for the chase view. This chase view I set up myself. I adjusted the position to be more zoomed in where I want it, but you could set this position wherever you fancy, like that, or I could type it in and put it at 6 meters, which is obviously over here somewhere, and then yeah, that will be your starting point. I'm not going to save that position. Don't save, I don't like it. So now there we go, back to the one I had. Great, and this is a great place for me to start my video intros, you know, things like that. This is also, remember, saved to the aeroplane. It's worth noting that as well. To show you some other features, it's amazing that there could be so many features to do with the cameras. If I go into groups, I can see those groups we just discussed, and I can adjust them accordingly. So whether I want airflow vibration, I want them to react to G-force and so on, and I can create more and more to choose how I want them. If I wanted, one day I want passengers with horizon, passengers without, things like that. You've also got world cameras. You can change the grouping for there. So these are categorized differently. So a parking camera, runway camera, tower, and world. These are all set up by default by Parallel 42. They put a lot of work into these. They're actually really good. You don't need to start fiddling with them too much. All I've done so far is change a few positions, and I've been quite happy with that. I changed, for example, my pilot cockpit position because it wasn't quite in the right place. Good. If I go to community, in here you can search for your airplane type, and then you can choose a profile that they've created. So you can see what other people have created, and you can try it out in your simulator and load it in and put filters on. I mean, this is clever stuff for a camera interface. I'm really overwhelmed. So you could go through these, and you can upload your own, of course, if you think it's particularly good. So people have done different, you could put different window views on, or a taxi camera. There you go. What does that look like? Let's not download it. If I just click it, it just shows it for you. There you go. Right engine, Yeah. So I'm not going to use those. I'm quite happy with what I have for my 777 right now. And now we go into preferences. This is a big section. The tutorial is very, very clear about how to do this, and I took a couple of screenshots through it, but the tutorial runs, it's got audio, it's got text written out in this window, and it will take you through how to set up the controls, and it will take you through the initial setup. Because it wipes out the camera systems you've got, it will take you through the initial setup, and it will show you how to have the basic binding, so moving the camera around, and it's all you need. It will take you through that. There are the risk of some conflict, so you might have to delete some controls, especially if you've done lots of fiddling with your camera controls, so you'll need to do that yourself. But it's very simple, and I was not looking forward to it. I heavily rely on the camera system in Microsoft Flight Simulator to work for my videos, and I was very nervous of installing this, but the tutorial was great, and it's worked way better than I thought. The only issue I had was lots of conflicts. I had to remove camera bindings I had done in Flight Simulator itself, so that ChasePlane could take over all of those. Something that is an issue is if you're using an Xbox controller, you'll get this conflict issue, because the Xbox controller, if you're using that to fly the aeroplane and control your cameras, then it will cause you issues because you cannot separate the two. What I mean by that is your Xbox controller will always control the flight controls on the aeroplane, and it will always control the camera at the same time if you're using the ChasePlane. So that's tricky. So you need a second controller really to do the cameras, and one for the flying if you want to do that. I don't think that's a particularly practical solution. This might not be the way forward for you in that case. To show you what I mean, it's actually a great thing about ChasePlane is that I can, from almost any camera angle, look at this, I can just control the airliner or the aircraft myself. This is not always possible. In half of Microsoft Flight Simulator's views, you can't actually control the airplane. Why they thought we wanted it like that, I don't know, but it's just an issue that I have with it. Oh, that's me dropping my Xbox controller, because this is my sort of ChasePlane view. So look at this, it's absolutely gorgeous. You can get some amazing shots using this this mode, and it's so nice to see the airplane, flying, the flight controls moving and it reacting from the outside. And this goes for pretty much all of the views, I think, in ChasePlane. If we go back to our cameras, there's always a shortcut to the cameras up there. Cinematics, there we go, and I can still fly the airplane. Who'd have thought it? Wow, what a revelation. And it's a shame that it is a revelation, but thank goodness this has come along to give us this option. It's great. And that's true, obviously, from all of them. I moved the tail view. It was actually slightly behind the tail, so now I've got it set up as if it's actually mounted on the tail. But yeah, airplane is now fully controllable, and that goes for all of our new views that we have, which is great fun. I know you might not use this much in an airliner, but I would think some fighter jets, or you could run an air show and use these sorts of things really nicely. And I can always, with my button, jump back to my cockpit view. It's always available to me, which is great. Let's put the autopilot in, get the airplane back up to cruise. Carrying on through preferences, there is lots and lots. This is setting your actual buttons. This is set up during tutorial. Things like previous view, next view, so on, and actual movement, so the axis. So I've got it on my hat switch on my joystick. You can choose what the mouse does. So you can use the mouse whether you want it to scroll for zoom and things like that. And again, control assignments. Now this is an interesting one, control profile. This sets the settings between internal, external, and world cameras. So world cameras are obviously things like the flyby. External is your external cameras, and internal will be things like in the cockpit or the cabin. Now for these, you have 3 different speed profiles by default, and this is a great feature. As I said, I wanted to be able to go outside the aircraft and use my drone, but the drone's too fast. You can see here, I don't like it. It's actually quite tricky to get a shot like this because it's too sensitive. So what I can do is swap over to my slow profile, and in the slow profile it's much easier for me to get a smooth view because I've reduced the rotation rate down here, and that allows me to get those camera shots that I really like getting. This is just showing you the level of detail and thought that went into this product. I'm blown away by this, and again, this might be more for me as a content creator, but I think anyone's going to enjoy this. I've actually got a shortcut key assigned, so I can swap between those profiles just by a button on my joystick. So this is the faster profile, and then we've got the fastest as well. This is useful if you just want to swing the camera around to a new position, something like that. Now, another reason I would swap between those is because if I go to spot view and I'm in the slow profile, there, it's actually a bit too slow for my viewing, for swinging the camera around. Although it's not too bad. But if I hit it now, we're in normal. And now this is more what I would normally fly with. Then if I'm getting those drone shots, then I'm going to swap to the slow profile. Brilliant. Absolute genius. I'm so impressed with that feature. And then you've got control assignments. So like I say, I've assigned to swap between the profiles like that. You've got cinematics mode. So if I'm not touching the simulator and no mouse movement, then in 5 minutes it will just automatically jump into cinematic mode. Look at that. Just look at this shot. Look at the perspective. Look at the zoom. Look at where the airplane is centered on the screen. This is what should have come in the simulator. It's just such an improvement. And you can choose how long you want each shot to be. And I think 15 is pretty good actually. I don't know what controls we can do. Toggle in next, yeah. And then you've got different camera behaviors. So do you want it in slew mode, reversing axes, so on. So it goes a little bit more detailed here. But yeah, it's great. Oh, you can also have a zoom and binocular zoom. I have not got that set up at the moment, but that's another feature available. And then yeah, I'm backing up on the clouds. Yeah, there you go. Really impressed. The interface on this app is something I was not expecting to be so good. It runs very smoothly. I've not noticed a performance hit for using it, and it's actually quite enjoyable to go through and tinker with the settings rather than a pain or difficult or frustrating like it is in the default camera system. You don't have to go in and out of menus. You're just in this one thing and you just go through their own setup. And in general, the airplane comes with everything you need. If it has any wing views, you'll just see it listed here and you can just jump to it. Why or how it was pre-assigned these categories, I don't know, because this is the PMDG 777-200. This is brand new. I don't know whether Parallel 42 have done this themselves or how this is done, but the fact that all of these were already signed to pilots and passenger, it is fantastic. Really great. And like I say, you can control the airplane at any point if you want to, which is just brilliant. Really feels like the fun I used to have in my old FSX days. Right, let's have a look at some ground stuff, the tower, the taxi cameras, things like that. So now we're on the ground, and I want to show you a couple of other features of ChasePlane. We're going to look at the tower view and the parking view, both fantastic, and also see some replay action. But what I want to show you first is some of the thoughtfulness that's gone into ChasePlane. You'll notice that I don't have the ChasePlane toolbar open, and so far in the video I've been opening it by going up here, but I do have it open. It's just minimized into this little box up here, and then you can just click on it to bring it out if you want it, and then you can minimize it, and within a couple of seconds it vanishes from the screen, because of course they know you don't want to see it all the time. They've just thought of it. It's fantastic. So let's open it up now, and I want to show you the next issue I've got to resolve and show you how they've done that. This is a different 777. This is the 777-200 Pratt & Whitney. You can see there the big Pratt & Whitney colour logo there. So this is different to the Rolls-Royce variant we were just in. So effectively, in Flight Simulator world, it's a different aeroplane. By the way, there is a thing that the camera now goes fully underneath when on the ground, so you have to be a little careful there. So this is a different aeroplane. So what does that mean? Well, some things have transferred across. In our groups, you'll remember our hard-mounted cameras. I don't want that airflow vibration. That is still at 0. But unfortunately, not all things have transferred across, so my reset button does not take me into the cockpit now because that is the setting I had assigned to that aeroplane specifically. Oh dear, disappointing. Same for my tail camera. You remember I moved the tail camera forwards, but this one is in the default position, it's behind. So these views on this page have not transferred across. If I go to chase view, this is the default chase view, which I don't actually like. I still can fly my drone around in it, but it just starts way too far back and it's not useful for what I want it for. So disappointing, right? That means I'm going to have to do this for every aeroplane. No, of course not. They've thought of this already. If you go to the column you want to adjust, so we're in the internal view, then a green plus appears at the bottom, and then you can click import, and it shows you your other aeroplanes. So I only have some ChasePlane settings for the 7810 and the 777-200 Rolls-Royce. Notice how it even knows it's a similar aeroplane. It's fantastic. I don't know how it does this. So click on this, and you can see all the settings that you can import if you want to. Now, I didn't actually adjust many of these settings at all. Most of the settings I've changed to do with breathing and all that other stuff were in the groups work. These actual cameras I haven't changed. What I did change was my pilot view. So I want to import the pilot view. You could, of course, import all if you wanted to. Because yeah, this current pilot view is fine, but I want my one that has the trigger in it automatically. I also want that tail view, but that's not in here. So let's just import that one. And unfortunately, that is now doubled up. We have pilot view here and pilot view here. So if I press Control and Alt, you can delete the view. And there it is. And I can drag it to where I want it. And now that's it. It's replaced. And now, if I'm in the external view, but I press my button, lo and behold, we're back in the cockpit. Just what I wanted. Everything else is the same because I hadn't adjusted them, so I don't need to import them all. You do have the option, of course, to import all of them. But if you do that, you need to so you would import all, but you need to then delete the duplicates if you want. Otherwise, the menus become a mess. But very easy. Control and Alt, and then you can hit delete. Same goes for my external views. I don't like this tail view, so I'm going to go to Imports and Similar Airplane. Tail. I think that's what I want. And also Chase. I prefer the Chase view. Remember, that was set off at the wrong angle. And we also had that wingtip, so let's import the wingtip views. There we go. Oh, let's just do all. Let's do all this time. There we go. So, that's rubbish. I don't want that one. Gone. That tail view, I don't want that one. Gone. Belly, fine. Wingtip, don't want that one. Gone. That one's fine. Nose. Tail, there we go. That's my tail view I set up. This is the better chase view that I set up, so let's put that up there. And the wingtip left is now in that GoPro position we set up. So let's get rid of the duplicate wingtip. And there we go. A little bit of work, but not a challenge. Not difficult, not fiddly, and it works as I would expect it to. So you've got so many options. There you go. Now we're still on the ground. You can actually see the breathing. A little bit of head movement. I quite like that. Although that could make me start to feel motion sick if I'm not careful. I'll see how that goes. Great. Isn't that good? Now let's have a look at tower view, because we have a tower view. Unfortunately, it is done on data that they have for the airport, and in this case, it's not in the right place. Oh no, what a pain. Imagine having to now try and move that camera and save it in all the mess we'd have to do in Flight Simulator. Not an issue today. Click on the plus, adjust, and let's just scooch it over. I'm going to put it right on the tower. You could even, it's sort of tempting, isn't it, to leave it inside and have it looking out the windows. And the zoom works really nicely. They've adjusted all the zooms and the way it works. It's fantastic. But you do have the option as well, which might be more appropriate in this case. We could just stick it above the tower, and that way we're less likely to get too many obstacles, as if we're sort of on a viewing platform. And there we go. And now I need to save that position. Track aircraft, yes. Don't skip it. Tower, yeah. Good. And now we're saved on top. Some other great views. Look at this. We have nearest parking. So if let's go back to tower view. I'll just release the brakes. Let's start rolling our 777 onto our stand. Remember, easy to do now. We have full control of the airplane from any of these views. I love, love, love that feature. And now it's time to park it. So we want to have a nice view of the airplane pulling onto stand. I can't wait to stream with this because I can have this running on my second monitor. I think it'll be fantastic. So I'm going to park on this stand here, this next yellow line. So the airplane's coming in just like normal, and we're in the tower view. Let's jump to nearest parking. And there we go. Oh no, this isn't quite the nearest. Well, this was the nearest to the airplane, but it's not where I'm parking. Hit it again. Now it's on the right one. How good is that? As if we're sort of up at the gate watching the airplane come in and park. I just, like I say, unbelievably well thought out, this app. It's so great. And I don't often get this excited about add-ons, and especially ones that aren't really nice airplanes I want to fly. But this is just a treat. Look at this. How many times have you seen this view? And you can still use the mouse to move it around. It's coming a bit fast there for a 777. And there we go, parked. Fantastic, isn't it? And then you can round it off. Also, you can have a shortcut. I've got a shortcut assigned to cinematic view. And then it would just jump on there. It'd be good if that jetty was attaching right now, wouldn't it? So there you go. So tower and parking views. And then you could use that same for the pushback if you wanted. It's all available for you to set up and use for whichever part of the flight you fancy. Let's have a go at the takeoff. So here's the flyby view. Absolutely awesome. I'm using a replay here. So this is a replay of a takeoff I flew previously. Now remember, this ChasePlane does not work with the default built-in replay system. It only works with the ones that are sort of more external. So I use Flight Recorder, and that works fine for me. So it depends which one you're using as to whether this will work. As it gets too far, I can zoom in with my mouse, which is great, or I can... I've done the wrong button there, that's my fault.
Positive rate of climb.
If I just bring the replay back, just to show you I am in a replay, I can pause it, rewind it. There we go. And go to flyby there. And like I say, I'm going to pop this out into another window, resume the replay. And yeah, like I say, if I don't like it, I'm just going to hit flyby again. And it will jump to different angle, different side, sort of cycle through and update to a new position. Quite a cool thing it does as well is, as the airplane gets really far away, it suddenly zooms in for you, which I really like. But look at that. I used to spend ages trying to get the airplane in the center of the camera for these takeoff shots. And here it is, just done. Feels too easy. And then I can zoom in, like I say, or if I leave it zoomed out, it will eventually, I think, zoom in. Usually as the airplane gets in the air, it seems to. Up it goes. And remember, fully controllable. So you could fly it from this view. Oh, there you go. It has jumped to the next view on its own. Then the gear up. Oh, fantastic. That sun glinting off it. These are the things that you've been missing by not having a camera system that allows you to just soak it up, enjoy the aeroplanes, enjoy aviation, enjoy seeing it, you know, instead of just being sort of locked in. I know not everyone's interested in doing that. Some people are very hardcore with their simming. But yeah, for me, this is great. We can jump to the tower now. Ah, and you can see I did not save that tower view correctly. So I'll need to figure out exactly how to save that view, but it's certainly possible. I've just done it in the wrong way, clearly. But by the way, have you noticed that as I move these joysticks, it actually fades out the interface around it, so you can see with full view the screen. It's just that level of thought that is really, really impressing me. This is amazing, really, what they've managed to achieve, and how much consideration went into a camera reset. This is not half-baked at all. This is the real deal. Let's resume the replay. Let's close that for now. I will figure that out and zoom in. Oh, the gear's up. Better put that down. There's a limitation of replays. But yeah, it's great. And the zoom you can get works much better than the zoom. It's much faster. Yeah, very nice. The wheels will all figure themselves out in just a moment. There you go. And now you can watch it take off. But just drag it along a bit. There we go. The old tower view. It's back. How great is that? Such an important thing, I think. Because how many of us experience airplanes by seeing them from terminal buildings or watching YouTube videos and going by? Up it goes. Awesome. Very light 777, as you can see. Looks like it's climbing about 45 degrees. Brilliant. There's also a touchdown effect. Let's take a look at that. I'm leaving this airplane to do an auto land. And it's set to 1 times at the moment. So I'm hoping it's not too aggressive, because your head shouldn't really shake out of its position too much on a landing.
10.
Yeah, I might tone that down. That looked like a lovely landing to me. But yeah, perhaps a little aggressive on the shaking effect there. Let's jump to our tower view. Or do a flyby. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Glorious, glorious aeroplane. Awesome. Yeah, just so easy. It's just a treat. You suddenly have so many options to jump around and just enjoy the simulator. So that's all for today's video then. I hope it's been interesting for you to see this. It's a bit of an insight into what I'm looking for with my camera views and how I've been using them so far in Microsoft Flight Simulator. But this app is a game changer. It's so powerful, and it's such a breath of fresh air for the camera system that it was so clunky before. I didn't realize how much I'd gotten used to the bad camera system in Flight Simulator 2020, which did have there were some great things in it, but this is a fantastic looking simulator, and it was always a shame at how some things were just compromised, like that outside view of the airplane where the airplane's always focused in the wrong area, the difficulty of changing those cameras, going to a wing view and back to the cockpit. All of these frustrations have gone, and now we've got these additions of these fantastic cinematic flyby tower views, things that we should have had, I think, from the start, things that used to be in previous simulators. Then they've added in some fantastic customization options and a really great interface that just makes it very straightforward. I'm not particularly good at going through my simulator and sorting this stuff out. I tend to try and leave stuff alone as much as I can, and I found this app very straightforward to use. So yeah, it's quite something. As I said, I bought this with my own money. It's not a review. It wasn't a free copy. These are just my thoughts on it, and I hope it's been interesting for you, and I look forward to using this in the videos in the future, so we can get some great views. And this is going to make my life much easier for landings and takeoffs, I can tell you that. I used to work so hard to get those get those shots, and it would take me ages, and this is just game changing for that. It also lets us appreciate the world of Flight Simulator that they've created. It looks great when you can see it properly, and it also lets us enjoy the airplanes. They're actually in the middle of the screen now when we have the camera normally. So I mean, wow, what an idea. Put the airplane in the middle. Fantastic. It's also great to have those physics, although I don't use them as much as I know some other people will. I tend to keep them quite toned down, but still nice subtle effects there just to give it an extra bit of life. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again in another video or live stream soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.